So good afternoon everyone. Welcome to Module 2, Assemblies and Material class. I think most people in this class do not know about me. I know some from my Design Study 1 or 2 class. So today, I'm better to introduce myself first. So my name is Bosok. I've been teaching ISU since 2016. And I'm teaching all sci-tech sequences and Architecture 302, which is third year architecture studio, and 403, which is a fifth year architecture studio. Today I would like to introduce my project first because I think it is the best way to introduce about me as designer and architect. So after introducing my project, I will introduce the first class topic, which is construction theme and anthropometric. I chose this topic for the first lecture because I believe it is the most fundamental learning for this class. You should know about your body first when you design the space. Okay? So this is about the anthropometric. The anthropometric is the body measurement data. Okay? So we talk about this topic further today. And we also talk about the construction theme. When you perform the project, you should know about your design team. And you should know about your construction team. So also, I'm covered this topic as well during today's lecture. I'm just gonna bring in this Lego image because as the architect, you have to work with many different fields and then many different professions. So it means during the sci-tech class, I teach how you understanding about other field and how you adapt this knowledge to your design. So we just mostly discuss about this process. We just kind of better to understanding of the people. It means you're making a better project. Okay. So let's talk about my project first. I just categorized these 4 different parts depending on the scale of our project. The small size, I'm very interested to design the small furniture because it is a great way to express my language because it's a low budget and this is more efficient. It's more open to design. So from this region, to express my language, to express our company language, we mostly working the small furniture design. Also, we just kind of participate the exhibition. So this is the kind of project here. We try to introduce about the concept. That's why basically this kind of design concept, we expressing about the idea through this furniture design. Second one, we also interested to using the code and how this computer code in fact to designing our stuff. So we just actually using the structure analysis code and then to apply that and then to find out the optimal structure to support human weight. So from this category and then from this analysis, we propose these 2 furniture design. Next one is interesting one. Actually, when we don't have too much work, we just think about how we can actually designing for the different species. In this case, we designing for the fishes. So this is the smallest, the client. So we try to satisfy this fish, means we try to understanding about their habitat. So basically, from this habitat analysis, we try to designing about this space for the fish habitat. Okay, so means we try to make a more comfortable space for the fish. So we jumping back to some human. So we got some competition winning. That's why we chance to construct the bench in Portland, Oregon. So our concept is the loop play, which is 7 different loop interweaving together to occupy the several different events. So means people more about to making their own activity and own play and also occupying the lots of different city event within this limited boundary. This is our concept. And then everything mostly from the in-house. We're using the ISU facility, using the water jet, and then we just combining everything here, and then we shipping to the Portland, and then we just exhibiting there. So jumping to the medium scale, we also got a first prize 2016 in New York City, and then so we try to introduce how we use the abandoned the hangers from the dry cleanings or from the city. We collect them to making this module and making out the overall the pavilion design in New York City. So this is our proposal. We're using the 18 hangers and 27 zip tie for the one single module. And then using this module, we propose this pavilion here. So this pavilion mostly occupying the several different events. Sometimes the event happening the separate way, and sometimes event the happening in the middle of the place. Okay, so I just kind of brought to the one video to introducing about this project. I think this is a very well representing about our design idea, because our concept is mostly understanding to propose the boundary. So how you understanding about boundary, about the material, and boundary about the activity. So let's watch this video and then I just jump into the next project.
Hi, we are Folio Architecture, a young architectural firm in New York. Our projects are currently in Korea and New York City. The City of Dreams competition is organized by the Emerging New York Architects Committee of the American Institute of Architects New York chapter, the Structural Engineers Association of New York, and Figment New York, a nonprofit arts organization. Out of hundreds of projects, Folio's Hangar Barn was chosen as a winner. Please enjoy our campaign video. The brief asked architects and designers to propose a pavilion with the theme, The City of Dreams, that would employ recyclable materials. We consider the environmental impact of the design and promote sustainable thinking. For our materials, we chose 22,000 used clothes hangers that come from local dry cleaners or individual donations. Hangar Barn is an eco-friendly and temporary pavilion which will be installed on Governor's Island, New York City this summer. Hangar Barn turns recycled clothes hangers into a pavilion using modular design techniques. The modular design is composed of the hangar's original triangle shape, rotated and paired with mirrored segments that connect with zip ties. The two hangar barns are connected by a courtyard. Two separate barns will generate different activities inside the space. The central courtyard will also serve towards the other public social events. All of the recycled clothes hangers used to construct the pavilion will be reinstalled throughout multiple sites in the city. Thanks for watching our video.
So we actually made this movie and documentary movie because we have to promotion to the city. So anyway, so I just jump into the next project. We're also working on this small housing project in Korea. This is a weekend house, and client want to making the more public on the bottom and the private on the top. So basically from this one, which we choosing a different materiality and top and bottom. This is from the kitchen dining area. And then just talk about the large scale. So we proposed this infill house in New York City. This is a very narrow land. It's mostly wasted land. And then we tried to propose how architect can propose the architecture space within this waste space. So this is kind of very narrow land, but we have to be optimized space basically from our design. So this is a kind of view from the day and night, and also you can see the assemblage drawing on the left. You can see our design is about the one floor here and then two floor here. So it means they just kind of try to expanding the view from the one side because it's very narrow, but you have to be expanding to the more linear way. From this region, we're using this skip floor system to maximize the experience within this limited area. So we also using this prefabrication method because I think about this is a very narrow land, and then the prefabrication method is much useful way and easy to assemble in this location as the construction and the structural point of view. So next one we talk about the church here. I think we proposed this church as well, and then this church is very interesting because they just try to occupy the public program on the bottom. They just want to make more relationship between the cathedral church service and the public event together. So from this region, from the bottom two level, we just using the more open filling space, which is an open filling material, and then more about giving the more porosity. And then from the third level, it's mostly secured and service area. So from this region, we making out the more solid out the space. So this is another view, and then this is the public engaging area, and then this is service area. We're also working on this project and complete the 2014. We just consider about how we can breaking out the boundary between project, which is our project, and the actual urban site. That's why when you're just gonna follow these small stair, this is continuous from the ground to the actual building here, and then this is following the circulation. You can experience and see all different program in this location. Next one, you can also find out the actual project and the courtyard space here, and then when people just following this one, they just can stop all different commercial space. We're also designing about the hotel project here. So this is basically we just try to maximize the view. So it means each unit has the different angle to guarantee the view for every single unit. So next one, we just talk about extra large. This is more about the museum project in Liberty Island. We proposed the museum island on the one side of the Liberty Island. So each droplet actually having some representing each country, but this is also representing social status for each part in each country. But if your social status is bad, the droplet is tilting it. If your social status is okay, this can be 90 degrees. So it means people just kind of read about some overall status about the social status from some different countries. So this is the kind of image we provided, and then we got a first prize for this idea competition. Also, we proposed this infrastructure here, the connecting between the two mountains through the bridge. This bridge have to be more monumental because this is a kind of gateway from the rural area to the downtown area. So that's why we have to think about that this have to be the gateway, and then this have to be ecological connection between these two mountains. So from this view here, we totally separate the pedestrian and natural flow. So we just kind of twisting the massing because we try to separate nature and the human. So from this region, we just kind of twisting this bridge. This twisting method making a more monolithic view, and also it is easy to separating between the nature flow and the human flow. So next project, we also proposed the master plan in the historical heritage in the Korea. The client and city want to mimic some actual Korean traditional style, and then following some also the traditional structure method. So from these two requirement, we proposed to designing about the traditional house type hotel, but very contemporary inside. But we try to following the traditional form and traditional kind of style here. So we're using the traditional material to adapt to here, but also have to be transferred from this traditional way to the more contemporary modern way. Okay. So also we have to provide these more modern and contemporary looking hotel as well. And then our facade inspired from the actual the traditional gate pattern. So we adapted this gate pattern to the facade, and also we try to provide the grand kind of access from the mainland. So that's why we try to make these buildings more floating over the water. This is we also designing the amenity here. And then you can see the swimming pool, and then designing the courtyard space between the hotel and then this amenity space here. So let's talk about the schedule. So this week and today I introduced about the design construction team and the Anthropometry, and also talk about the design convention and the process. And then next Thursday talk about the site and soil. And the week 3 I introduce about the building code, which is IBC, International Building Code, which is a building regulation when you propose your design. And then week 4 I introduce about the brick, which is a masonry intro. And then week 5 we have a wood intro. Okay, so this is a kind of a more fundamental the class to understanding about assemblies and to understanding about the materials. So let's talk about this first topic here. So when you're designing about the space, who do we design for? So we need to designing according as different gender, generation, and more to concern. So means you have to be designing for everyone. It's not designing for one single specific person when you're designing public space. How do we know or require the dimension from the different categories? We have to find the common dimension for everyone. So we just kind of learning through the 345 and 545 class. We just kind of understanding how you find out the common dimension for your design. So first we talk about ADA, who design for. ADA is common dimension for everyone. But what is ADA? ADA is Americans with Disability Act. Okay, so this purpose gives civic right protection to individuals with disabilities. It means you have to be designing for everyone. It's not for young generation. It's not for the healthy people. We have to be considered to designing for everyone. So this is a basic concept for ADA. It means this minimum requirement have to be adapted to your design, and then this minimum requirement the dominantly designing your space. Okay, so we covered this ADA issue 2 more classes next semester. I think you better to understanding about what is ADA and how you adapt to the ADA, and how you understanding this concept better through the lecture on next semester. Okay. So next one, what do we work with? Who is your design team? So we are architect, but we mostly work with client and general contractors. So let's look at the role of each team part. The client team, who is your client? They are funded the project and make your project and hire you, right? So mostly individual project or family client, it is for the single family house. But when you're working on a little bit bigger scale, you usually work with developer. Okay. Sometimes your city is your developer, city is your client as well. So it means depending on the project, it has a different client team. We are the design team, right? We are architect, but we mostly work with engineer, MEP engineer, the mechanic, electric, and plumbing engineer, and the structural engineer, and civil engineer, and interior and landscape designer. Okay, so this is a kind of we called the design team, but you have to remember architect have to be control the every project and schedule mainly with this engineer and the interior and landscape designer. Okay, so you have to be remember about this one. Architect is main role to control the engineer and these designers. And then after we finish our design, the general contractor will start construction from your design, right? So general contractor usually hire the subcontractor, because general contractor mostly combining these different pieces together, and then they just also control the schedule. It means they hire the subcontractor. The subcontractor means they only focusing on the specific part. For example, the general contractor hire window subcontractor. Window subcontractor only making the window. And then general contractor hire door subcontractor. It means these guys only making the door. After they finished out, they just kind of send it to the general contractor, and then general contractor just everything combining together to making out the project. Okay, so you have to be remembered these three parts. We are the design team, and then we have to be work with the client and the general contractor. So let's see this video clip. I bring this video clip to introduce our job. This video is little overstate. However, you can understanding our role as the design team. So let's watch this video together, and then we can jump into the next topic.
I am an architect. Part 3.
Do the architect.
We're a breed of our own, with much pride and limitation.
If only the world would appreciate our creations.
We're architects, building cities for you.
Listen up while we explain our angle of view. Get to a job site to inspect the work. Set the walls aren't straight and the ceiling arcs. Tell the contractor, this place is a wreck. Fix that, fix that, fix that.
And do the architect.
Do the architect, do the architect, do the
What it
architect,
doing? Do the architect.
do the architect, do the architect, do the architect. Show up for my final review. Haven't slept in 40 hours and got goo on my shoe. I'm optimistic, but the critics say amusingly, you're a disgrace to the architectural community.
And do the architect.
Do the architect, do the architect, do the
What it
architect,
doing? Do the architect.
do the architect, do the architect, do the
What it
architect.
doing? Do the
Waiting for my red lines.
architect.
Scrolling through my iPhone.
Architect.
Tabbing through Revit.
Architect.
You know those clients.
Do the architect, do the architect, do the
What it
architect,
doing? Do the architect.
do the architect, do the architect, do the
What it
architect.
doing? Do the
LCA,
architect.
PCR, leading EPD, acronym spinning in my head. I'm never free from environmental standards, rules and regulations. Let me design without constraint and all these limitations.
My laser cutter broken, now I'm modeling old school. Grab my X-Acto knife and a straight edge tool. This late in the night, mistakes can cost you a lamp. Do the architect, do the architect, do the
What it
architect,
doing? Do the architect.
do the architect, do the architect, do the
What it
architect.
doing? Do
You'll
the
sleep in 20
architect.
hours.
Architect.
You'll sleep in 40 hours.
Architect.
You'll sleep in 60 hours.
Architect.
You'll sleep in 80 hours. Wait, guys, I don't think he's alive.
Architect.
Do the architect, do the architect, do the
What it
architect,
doing? Do the architect.
do the architect, do the architect, do the
What it
architect.
doing? Do the architect.
Architects, and these are our woes.
It's a crazy life, but a profession we chose.
We have our antics, but at the end of the day,
We're building you a better tomorrow today.
I think everyone know about your future here, right? So this is your future. So no sleep for 80 hours anyway. So talk about the design team again. So the project will smoothly move on when architects collaborate with other profession. It doesn't mean you do not need to be structural engineer. However, to making your project smoothly, you have to know the sense of building system. So site class, we teach how you understanding other field, how you collaborating with other field, and how you manage your project. Okay, so architect is not just designer, not just kind of designing something from your computer. We have to be managing the project for client. It means you have to manage the engineer, interior designer, and landscape architect, and the MEP and the structural engineer and contractor. So you have a lot of job have to do for making out the one single project. However, this is a very fascinating because you can control the project to making out these project in the real world. So you have to be remember, we are not just kind of a rendering provider. We have to be managed to making the project successfully. Okay. So next one we talk about the design fee. The fee is basically from the firm. So I just bring the two project here. Left one, the 801 grant. It is from the HOK. The left one, the right one, the Hong Kong Bank, which is designing from Norman Foster. The left one is HOK, is the corporate company, and right one, the Norman Foster, is Star Architect. So depending on the company, depending on the project type, of course, it has the different design fee. But I just kind of bring it most general and most kind of the typical the cost fee percentage here. So when you just kind of project, it's kind of when you see the left and right is more detailed and more required. The structure analysis, everything is more complicated compared to the left project. So that's why this is a much higher budget compared to this one. And then when you just see the fee, the right one is kind of more 8% fee for the design, and then left one is kind of 7% for the design fee. But simply this overall budget here, I can just kind of point out, you can see the overall budget. This is including the construction and design and the purchase land, everything. So understanding about the fee calculation here. So this percent, the 7% for this project for the design fee, but this project is 8% for the design fee. The simply calculating, so you can just calculating this is actual design fee here. But this is not for all our money. You have to be the deduct for the consultant fee. The consultant fee is usually 33%, but this is also varies depending on the project. But this is a more general number. So 33% for the consultant fee. You have to be minus here. And then this is the profit here. It's not profit, this is your cost. So for this is your cost here, and then this project, this is your cost here. Okay? So from this calculation, you cannot getting this money in once. You have to be divide this cost from the phase. So we talk about these phase next week, but just understanding about SD, which is schematic design, DD, design development, CD, construction document, BN, the bid and negotiation, CA, construction administration. So each stage having a different percentage. Okay, so we actually getting the money basically from the stage. Okay, but some architect firm only do until DD, so it means they only getting this money. But some architect firm only did the SD, they only getting this money. Okay, so that's why you can just actually calculating. You probably know about overall cost, how much you can get per each stage. Okay, so we talk about this budget and design fee the next semester one more time. We just kind of better. This is kind of a little bit complex, more calculation requirement. But I just kind of giving this information and then the data, because I just want to ask you guys to know about the general kind of a fee cost calculation from the 345 and 545 class. But 346 and 546, I'm just more introduced about how you can just actually calculate the design fee. Okay. So next one, we talk about anthropometry. The anthropometry is the study of human body and the human movement. It involves collecting human body data, so it is called the anthropometric data. So why I introduce anthropometry first? Because to design any space, you have to know about the human body factors. You have to know about the human body dimension. This is a basic understanding to design the space. Okay, so start from the anthropometry. To know about the anthropometry, you have to know about the human body dimension. It is called human factor. the human factor is understanding the scale of our body and space we occupy. The human factor is the scientific discipline concerned with the understanding of the interaction among human and other elements of the system. So basically, to understanding about these human factors, this have to be dimension. You have to know about this human body dimension. It is called the human factors. Okay, so understanding about human factor dimension, and then to understanding about the data, it is called the anthropometric data. Okay, so human factor, the what determines scale in architecture, and how you actually deciding about the size of your space. First, people. From the human factor, you know about the dimension for each person. So how many people occupy this space? Next one, machine and equipment. What kind of machine in this room? What kind of equipment in this room? And then for the classroom, how many chair and desk required for this room? These kind of stuff deciding about the space. And then next one is form follow function. Form means actually your size about your space, and function is program. Depending on the program, it requires the different size of the space. For example, when you're designing the classroom, and when you're designing auditorium, or when you're designing the gym, this is all different function. It means they require the different the size requirement. So means when you're designing up a space, you have to know about these three parts. Okay, but how you actually can deciding about the dimension from people, from machine, equipment, or program. So that's why we can track all these factors from the following books. Graphic Standard, I think I'm highly recommend purchasing this book for your studio and the SciTech. This is to indicate and show all possible and all required dimension for designing the space. Okay. Next one, IBC. IBC is code regulation. It means it strictly control the dimension from the IBC. It shows the maximum or minimum dimension for space. You have to be comply this dimension to design your space. Okay, so means graphic standard is more to show into the recommendation and general requirement, but IBC is strictly control some dimension. It's more about the regulation. Okay, so means you have to be adapt the dimension from IBC and also dimension from the graphic standard. So you don't need to buy the IBC book because you can actually find out this data from the website. So I can more introducing about the IBC book on the week 3. So next one, your experience is very important too, because you already live around 20 years in this, right? So means sometimes you feel very uncomfortable some space, and some space very comfortable. So means basically your experience, you can start to designing about the space from your experience. And then you have to be comparing to the dimension from your experience and actual dimension from IBC and graphic standard. So from these three parts to understanding about the space size, and you can actually propose the dimension for the space. Okay. So next one is keep talking about the human factor. So think of something that you feel has not been designed with your body, proportion, and action in mind. For example, when you're designing about the left image like here, like handrail, what is problem? What is problem here? It's too wide. It's hard to grab this handrail, right? And then what is problem on the right image? It's too steep. It's hard to going up. So I mean, that's why you have to be understanding about the human factors, which is the human body dimension, to propose architecture space or to propose any types of the equipment, like a mouse, even you design a mouse or keyboard, everything actually from the human factors. Okay, So to apply this human factor and then dimension, once again, you have to be check the dimension from the graphic standard and IBC, which is an international building code, right? So next we talk about ergonomics and anthropometry. Anthropometry, it is Greek word. Anthropomos, which is a human, and pometry, which is a measurement. It means, anthropometry means human measurement. So anthropometry involves the systematic the measurement of the physical properties of the human body. It is primarily dimensional description of the human size and shape. So Leonardo da Vinci, you can see the image here. He dimensioned for here his body, like a body of the reaching size. Also, he just checking about hand size and head size. Basically, from this body measurement, he proposed his architecture space or his equipment basically from the measurement. Okay, so please remember, anthropometry is very important to designing about the space, because you have to be remember about this term and then understanding about this concept. Anthropometric means human measurement. Okay, so in the history, the anthropometric system start from 1779. You can see that this kind of a painting, it is drawn by 1779. So measuring the human body and human dimension. So just kind of making out the data basically from this measurement. So this data actually using for designing the space and then designing some equipment or furniture. So you're probably familiar with the image. This is a modular man from Le Corbusier. I think you probably heard about Le Corbusier. Le Corbusier is a Swiss architect, but this is one of the most important modern architect in our history. Okay, so this modular man is anthropometric, the scale of a proportion, but he measuring his body. So in the reaching size, also just understanding about the body and the leg and head. So basically from this data, he applied to the measurement data to designing his space. Even basically from the modular, the man dimension, he proposed about the table size and chair size, everything basically from his dimension here. So we checked out the modular man from the previous slide. But nowadays, we have to have more average data rather than one single specific person. So that's why we have to be every 2 years, I think, or every 3 years, they just collect the human body factors and then just kind of more about the average from the collective data, and then just kind of updating the human factor data, and then we using this average data for designing the space and for designing your furniture. So from this human body factor and human body dimension, so you can just understanding about the reaching area, and basically from this dimension, you're also understanding about the hand size, right? So this hand size is also important for designing the handrail, designing the button, designing the mouse. So actually this is a very important data to design any types of the equipment and architecture space. So also from this data, you probably understanding about the table size, understanding about the desk size and sitting position. So this can adapt and apply every single space design. Okay. I also bring some video, I think, but video is pretty long. Documentary, I think you can watch yourself. I already upload on Canvas because this is very well summarized about anthropometric. I think this is you much better understanding how anthropometric data can collect and how they measuring our body in these days. So please watch yourself about this video. Okay. So next one. So we talk about ergonomics. Ergonomics is also Greek word. It is Greek word. The ergo means work. Nomos means natural law. Okay. So means the ergonomics is the study of people's efficiency in their working environment. We have to be understanding the specific human need and interaction with environment and space. So it means how we can designing the people to more concentrating and focus their work. So this is all relating to the ergonomics design. Okay, you have to be understanding what is different between anthropometry and ergonomics. Okay, so please understanding that these two difference between. Okay, so I just kind of bring it the 7 basic rules of ergonomics. Okay, first one, you have to be consider height. The height of the workstation must be suitable for employee of the different height, because everyone has different height, right? So I mean how you can adjust this table and chair for everyone. So from this region, we mostly use adjustable chair and adjustable table. It means it's designing for every people and everyone. Okay, and next one is grab area size. You also need to consider grab area size. It means if your table is super big and then your stuff is out of your hand, you have to be standing and grab your stuffs. It's kind of a loss of waste of time. So that's why to provide the concentrate on your work, you have to be understanding the grab area size for making the efficient the working area. So next one, you need to consider and optimize the container position, which is a movable drawer. The container should always be easy to reach with a minimum of movement. Okay. So next one is pretty important. That you need to avoid the working position over heart height, because it can lead to reduction in the worker efficiency. If your hand is higher than your heart position, you feel a little bit more. You feel more tired when you work. So that's why you have to be using the adjustable chair and adjustable table to adapt to this concept. It means your hand position always lower than your heart position. Okay. So from this region, I already talk about the adjustable chair, adjustable table. Okay. Next one, you have to be consider the vision area. You have to consider vision area. You need to avoid unnecessary head and eye movement. It is more to focusing on your work. Then the last one, you need to collect illumination for task. Okay, so it means you have to be consult the lighting consultant sometimes to designing about your lighting better, to focusing on your design, to focusing on your work. Okay, it means it also increase the loss of working performance depending on this lighting condition. The next one, so we need to designing architecture space or design product from anthropometry research and ergonomic research. So what do we need to consider from this data when you design the space? So consideration, our posture and strength and reach and clearance. Especially clearance is very important for our design aspect, because this clear space and clearance basically from the body data, which is body movement or minimum body requirement. This is actually from the anthropometric data, right? So this clearance space decide to designing your passageway width, and then decide to designing for door width, and then it decide to designing for the kitchen and bathroom size. So we keep talking about this clearance next semester relating to the ADA requirement. Okay, so but just kind of now understanding this clear space is very important, because understanding about this dimension, I just kind of summarized required dimension for designing the space for furniture and for your space. This dimension actually from the anthropometric data and the considering from this clear space. For example, you can see the door width and door height. It is basically from the minimum clear height, right, and minimum clear width. These data have to be adapted to designing your space. Once again, these data from the human factor and then you have to make in the data from the human factor. It is anthropometric data. You have to be applied this anthropometric data to designing and propose this dimension for your space. Okay, so using this dimension, so you can design in the living space or office space here, and also you can design the space for this meeting area. So when you see this image, you can see the 16-inch minimum, the 16-inch minimum dimension, and then the 36-inch minimum dimension. So these all dimension actually basically from the ADA. The 16-inch means the wheelchair turning radius. The wheelchair coming in, the 16-inch is turning radius. They just changed the direction, just getting out of the space. The 36-inch is the minimum, the wheelchair size, they can just passing through. So this is kind of minimum clear space. It means this minimum clear space to decide the size of the space. Okay, this kind of minimum clear space to designing about the kitchen and designing about the bathroom. So we usually using the dimension. So I just kind of introduce about this case study project. This is a case to Western University dormitory. Though we designing about this project. So you can just see the 3 different pieces, and then this is a view from the other side. But I just kind of talk about this project a lot through the 5 sequences of your SciTech class. I introduced about how you creating, what kind of a structure system we use, and how you designing about your window. Everything we cover from this project further out. But today I just kind of show the kitchen cabinet design, because we talk about the clear space and anthropometric data. So we adapted this anthropometric data and then requirement from the IBC code, and then we're also using the graphic standard to designing about the space. Because this is a dormitory, it means public building. It have to be applied for everyone, right? So it means this space for everyone. So that's why we have to be meeting this minimum requirement. This minimum requirement just indicate from the IBC code. So it means we have to be using the IBC code to design the space. Okay. So anyway, you see the lots of different dimension. This dimension all requirement from the IBC code and adapt to this dimension from the code to the design. Also, we also adapt to our experience. What is more comfortable to using the cabinet, what is more comfortable to using the sink. So while meeting with the IBC, and then we adding our experience to designing the kitchen design. Okay, so you can just kind of complete the designing, so everything just meeting the IBC requirement, and also making the better space from the designer's experience. Okay, so today's Chris, I think we talk about anthropometric and ergonomics and human factor, and we also talk about our design team, and then we also role of our design team and role of architect, and then we also talk about the design fee, how you can calculate. So I think today is very fundamental idea about the design, and then we just more to talk about the design process and then design consideration on the next lecture. Okay, so I and Eric upload the lab assignment on the Canvas. So please find your lab assignment on the Canvas. So if you have any question, just contact me through the email, or we can meet face to face. I'll be in the lab location, or we can talk through the Zoom. So I try to open as much as possible to hear about your voice. So thank you so much for the first class, and then I'm looking forward to seeing everyone on the next class. Okay, have a wonderful day.